Some squeaky thing going on.
Hi, everybody. We are back, although fraught with a little technical difficulties. Thank you,
Surprise,
Dave.
surprise. Surprise.
Trying to figure out the button that will allow the audio to work. Here you go. It's actually his way of kind of keeping me quiet for 5 minutes. Thanks for joining us. We're looking forward to this conversation. So I was determined to make this work. So a brief intro about the two of us, and we'll be right back.
We're in it together. We're in it together. If you get off track, I got your back. Remember. Oh yeah, we're in this together.
Thanks to Elliot Lewis for sure. What we're going to talk about today is how to get it in the drinking water. And I think this picture sort of summarizes it beautifully. Why don't you talk about how you came up with this?
Well, I think the original idea came from our good friend Steve, way back when I first started this kind of practice. One of the things that he talked about with his experience of the Birkman was that once you get the Birkman in there, it's almost like a virus, like it catches on internally. So we were talking about how important it is that no matter what you do, you get it into the drinking water. And he was citing something from like an old Kentucky motto or Kentucky thing, because he was part of, at the time he was president of the Bluegrass Association in Kentucky. They built a new museum and whatnot, and they talked a lot about how you need to get things in the branch water, in the drinking water. That way everybody gets it. Everybody's got some of it in a good way. Now, of course, you could get it into the drinking water, meaning something bad, like Flint, Michigan. The lead in the water. But I think the key here is that when you get something good into the drinking water, it goes through everybody. It's in everything. It's in what you cook. It's in when you clean up. It's in when you take a shower. It's in when you take a glass of water. It's always there. So the idea would be, how do we take these concepts, these tools, especially something like the Birkman, which is so brilliant. And once you get in there, it's not just a one-off. Well, that was fun. Yeah, okay, let's get back to work. How do you actually incorporate it into the life of the company? How do you incorporate it into the life of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis?
I think what's happening, based on a couple of conversations I've had lately, is that that was the old way, which was like the dip your toe in. But most of the other tools don't allow you to expand and create this ripple effect that the Birkman provides. So there's a one-off kind of thinking with some of the others. So let's do team building. We'll have everybody participate, and then we're done. No, it really needs to have this effect where you make the individual drops into the culture of the organization, and the ripple effects happen as a result of that.
Rather than trying to get the ripple effects into the person, letting the person bring the ripple with it.
I think what we'll do is start with a yes and sometimes I apologize for the slides when they upload here to StreamYard, which is what we're using. They cut off some of the letters, but we'll get the point. It's all about collaboration and conversation, but to use improv philosophy, it's a yes and approach. There's as we think about these various conversations and collaboration, it's going to go far better when we look at it from the perspective of how can I move forward with a yes, as opposed to stall and go back with a no but.
Yeah. So when you hand something to someone, we throw out an idea, and they say, "Well, I don't get it. What does that mean?" It's like it just drops dead. When I say, "Yes, I understand, I hear you. Maybe this is something else I can add to it. This is something we can discuss more deeply."
Well, what I often say is I like to use the metaphor of a relay race. the teams practice repeatedly over and over again is to catch that baton and go running.
Yeah.
The handoff. So if we're not doing a yes and approach with that handoff, we're going to stall, and we're going to drop the baton and drop the ball, whatever you want to use.
Lose the race.
It will take a while to pick it up and go again.
Yeah.
So this is a lot of words on here, but I think we can get to the understanding of it just by talking a little further. Because what happens in the utilizing these kinds of approaches to team effectiveness is we like to think of the ability of the tool with the facilitation to fill what people need so that we can address the gap. And when you think about, I was talking to somebody earlier who was saying that they are looking at expanding their organization considerably over the next couple of years. And the team is very nervous about it because they know what they know right now, current state. So the support that they need will revolve around renewing constantly that vision and mission. We don't just create a vision mission, throw it on the website, and we don't look at it again. We may look at it again and say, that's pretty darn good, and it still applies. So, but it could be, nope, we've changed. We've turned left and right, or we've altered a little bit. So we need to adjust. Or there could be new people who come in who bring new ideas that could create new methodologies.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead.
I think that issue of getting it off the wall and into the day-to-day life is what we mean by getting it into the drinking water. I see wonderful vision and mission statements on walls, but if I ask somebody in the hallway what they are, they can't tell me.
Exactly. Well, that's
it's in the life of the organization.
It's in the life, and therefore it's in the it's the virus, as Steve said. So it spreads through the drinking water, and the way that happens is by repeatedly resurrecting, reminding that this is what we did, this is who we are. I love it when I see organizations that either virtually or in an office somewhere, they put up their Birkman colors. I've seen other companies do other instruments as well, but it's just a reminder. But it's also that has that supportive nature to it for new hires, and allows people to onboard more effectively. Therefore, they get in the drinking water.
Right.
So
they're have access to the drinking water,
guided through it. But the intra and inter team communication collaboration is so vital, and it's such a need that if it's unclear, then we're going to stall and drop the baton.
Right. It's hard to stay engaged. Hard to stay engaged. Hard to stay engaged if you don't know what the game is.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea of how this operates so that we get in the drinking water and get the language embedded is we start with, after the individual we start with the individual. That's the first thing. After the individual has completed the questionnaire, they get an individual one-on-one debrief. We have a few culture survey questions that help assess where things are at, such as, what do you love about your work? If there's a resource that you see that would be helpful, what would that be? What unites the team? And so forth. And when we can leverage those individual strengths, then we can be more effective and support the ongoing communication as a team by building team agility is what we call it. Anything you would add to this?
Well, I think the idea, I just keep thinking about that, passing the baton. How often in a day-to-day situation, the teams are tasked with trying to work together, but somebody on the team doesn't know what the team did. They had a meeting and that morning that they didn't attend. They don't know what's going on. They feel out of the loop. I could just suddenly envisioned all of these batons dropping, in the middle of the organization. Every time somebody tries to give somebody something, they're dropping it. What happens after a while is you don't give anything to anybody because you don't want to have to pick it up. So pretty soon you're not even passing the baton. You're just running around racing like crazy.
Yeah. And the other piece that in support of that baton discussion and overall drinking water discussion is, I think the approach and the results from the Birkman are the manual for emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
So we were talking to somebody yesterday who was so interested in the idea of self-awareness, which is the first step of emotional intelligence. So if we know through the insights from the Birkman about ourselves better, we can have overall better relationships and have a way that we can improve our those relationships moving forward. So the understanding as well about how do we manage our own stress and our own reactions to those before all that happens, before we even get to talking with the team. So to give the individual the support they need to then come together with the team. So
I could probably also say that in some cases I'm not good at passing the baton to myself. My stress behavior gets in the way. I can't even give myself the kind of lead that I want to, and kind of hand off to the next thing.
So we call this the project life cycle. And what happens here is that this life cycle builds the team effectiveness and it offers sustainability. So we start, as we just talked about, this is one-on-one debriefs. And then after that, and only after we've had a chance to meet with everybody one-on-one, we jump into it doesn't have to be 2 hours. It could be, we've done 2 days. But we find since COVID that people are more appreciative of shorter periods of time. But typically it's a half a day where we get insights from the Birkman and have an opportunity to have these discussions about, as we call it, what's the DNA of the team? Right. What are some of the key pieces that the team might have some challenges with based on what we see in the scoring, or some gaps that could be enhanced. And then there's a second one-on-one coaching session with either Dave or myself to discuss insights that they may have gained from that 2 hour half day team session. And then we move into one of the things that we hear from our clients a lot about how much they appreciate it is what we call the differences to watch. It's a discussion about the comparative report, which is differences that maybe blind spots may get in the way between two people, that we can then facilitate the conversation and improve that, or just have a heads up. This could be, maybe it hasn't shown up yet, but it might be something that could be a flag.
Yeah.
And then we have a second team session. And then by then we're pretty much in the drinking water. Right.
So second team session, you can really go for some depth there. You can really start looking at
the next level of the organization, of the directs of the directs, which then builds the culture and gets in the drinking water. Absolutely. And then we have other programs and future opportunities, which could be additional programs, always tying back to the building team agility.
Right. This is sort of foundation.
And the way we got here is by passion. So, when we see and identify what people love, then we can help them stay engaged with things that they don't love as much, but they have to do, or help them find what they really love to do so that they feel like they're contributing and making a difference in the organization. And these are some pieces of information that we've received from our clients based on how the gap is filled. The team can work through difficult issues, is that first bullet. So it saves several steps,
Yeah.
in terms of getting through to by listening. Team effectiveness is improved. Defensive posturing, they're better able to manage conflict. We like to call it collaborative conflict.
Hmm.
And looking at the other thing that we addressed is your personal and professional development.
Yeah. Well,
What is it?
That's at the core of everything.
Right.
If you want to
What do
really get into drinking water, you've got to get into the personal and professional development of the people that work there.
All right. So the future can be something that is on their plate as a positive direction.
Exciting.
Helping new members acclimate. And if there's sometimes you get into an organization and we hear what roles, so it helps with more clarity and improving, the conversations overall.
Well, even the
So-
definition of rules is changing. It's less functional and more process oriented. So as a result, you need to have the ability to pass the baton with more people, because it's not always the same people over and over again. You need to be able to build that resilience, I guess, that alignment and that agility in passing the baton. You've got to be able to create it with anybody in the organization.
Oh, I would hope that people think of times where they can mix up the teams, so it's not the same people always working together. So you've got something. Maybe it's a higher level discussion that's for the culture that some people are very interested in, and others may not be. So let that group take a stab at the first go round, and then bring it together with the bigger group, and then go back to the drawing board if need be. But anything else you would add about drinking water, or did we cover it pretty well?
I think we covered it pretty well. I think my hope would be that if you're in the drinking water and people understand the language and all the things we're talking about, somebody new could join the team, and the first thing they say is, "Hey, show me your assertiveness score," or whatever scores we chose over the DNA of the team. Show me your social energy score, something. Just right from the start, we have information that we can trade with each other to help us to understand each other.
Well, you're throwing in the names of the inner sanctum of the Birkman report, so some people may not know what that is.
It's in my drinking water. I can't help it.
I know it's in your drinking water, that's for sure. So thank you for listening and for being a part of the session with us. Let us know, as always, if you have any questions. So we are Dave and Laura Butler of WorkLife Consulting, and we're happy to help. We'll see you next time.